Welcome to the Tech Panel.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The podcast where tech minds meet.
Oh, hey, before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell.
Welcome to the Tech Panel. I'm Arvin and
Jamie.
And joining us today on the Tech Panel is Habib Baluwala, a leader in data insights and analytics who's been at the forefront of building data products that drive real-world impact. Habib's work with One New Zealand sits at the intersection of machine learning, platform services, and business strategy, which is exactly where data becomes transformative. With a background that includes a PhD from Oxford and a track record of developing innovative data solutions, Habib brings a unique blend of technical expertise and strategic vision to the telecom world. Habib, welcome to the Tech Panel. We're great to have you here. How you feeling, mate?
I'm doing good.
You're happy with that intro, Habib?
Wonderful.
For anyone listening, we just messed that up like 3 times. Okay. So to kick things off, can you give our listeners a quick look into One Zealand's mission? And, from your perspective, what role does data play in transforming the telecom services for today?
Yeah. If you look at the history of telecom services, what we've seen is that we've gone through different evolutions. It started with the telephone at your home, then started with mobile services. Even within mobile, let's say it was only around voice, but then it became around data, went through 2G, 3G. Now currently we are sitting at 5G. But also, this is from a consumer lens, from a business lens as well, we see that there has been lots of evolution that's been going on within that space. And One New Zealand is also going into space connectivity as well, where we are basically saying that how can we provide connectivity throughout rather than only through our towers that we have? How can we provide new connectivity through space as well? So when we look at the mission of telecoms today, uh, and people cannot live without connectivity. It's much more easier to live without water for a few hours or a few days, but I would say much more difficult to live without data on your phone.
So true.
And especially with kids.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it's just one of those things. I personally feel the strain. And I remember growing up, I used to think, oh, these people are addicted to their phones. But now it just feels almost like you're naked when you don't have access to data. I don't know about you, but it's almost like I think the part that I struggle with the most is not being able to answer things or not knowing, right? If someone says something and I'm uncertain of it, I have to immediately do research.
Yeah, have a look. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. It is that nakedness and that something has fundamentally been stripped away from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's odd.
And just an example is that if you can, nowadays, I can't even find my home address without maps. Many of these things. So you become so lazy in that sense. And that's where the mission for One New Zealand comes in. Our mission is that we want connectivity not just for consumers, for normal people, but also for businesses, so that New Zealanders can excel in their journey and within the digital space and grow along with us as well. So that's the main mission for us, providing connectivity to entire New Zealand. Now, how does data come into play over here? In many different ways. First thing is that when we are providing connectivity, how can we use data to become much more smarter and focus on areas where connectivity is either poor or not working, and then push more resources over there? How can we use data to help our customers in their journey of selecting their new phones, their new products that might be there? How can we use data in that space as well? And at the same time, how can we use data and AI within our own organization as well to run more efficiently? Look at opportunities on where we can use intelligence in order to lessen the workload for our people, so that they can focus on high value activities. So if you look out from a network perspective, enterprise perspective, from a marketing perspective, and from internal use case, internal admin perspective, data and AI are the core foundations on which you can scale and you can grow much more faster. Let's say.
When I think of AI, obviously my mind goes straight to systems like GPT that are really great at producing content or digesting great amounts of data. But telecom is a very different industry, right? You're dealing with voice primarily and the transmitting of data between one point and another, or obviously millions of data points. What exactly is AI doing in your space that's driving value for the industry?
So that's a very good point. Now, if you see, AI is divided into two parts now, effectively. One is predictive or your kind of traditional AI, which was referred to, where you have machine learning algorithms, which are actually trying to look at uh, continuous or point level data and then trying to make a prediction based on that. And it's basically what is predictive AI doing is reducing the cost of prediction. A very good example is that I have my core data, which is my telecom data coming through, and I have some anomalies over there. How can machine learning algorithms help me detect those anomalies? And then based on that, I can take some actions on my network. So I can close off certain network or I can open up certain parts of the network so that my customers can still have a good experience over there. So that's that part where a lot of the predictive machine learning is still very impactful within the business and can drive a lot of functions and can help in a lot of use cases for us. Then there is the generative AI one, which is, as you mentioned, the chat GPT one. Now, that generative AI is very much focused on reducing the cost of cognition and creativity. Those are the two main components. So, how do we reduce the cost of thinking and how do we reduce the cost of creativity? So, and this could be useful in marketing space, in sales, in call centers, in our and other different various other functions of the business as well. Because as humans, that's what we're doing every time. We are creating more content, we are adding more creativity. But if we can reduce the cost of that, then we can get more campaigns out. We can get more content. We can serve more customers as well. So those are the two sides of AI that we see and the benefits from each one of them.
Just digging into that first one, that sounds,
Mm.
for me at least, like the big untapped area for you. But I'm still wondering, like, is this really going to provide meaningful, tangible benefits for the telecom industry? Let's use the example you brought up. If
Mm.
there was an anomaly that was occurring within the network, and we've had systems that monitor networks for decades now. Even when I
Mm.
managed, large scale IT services at previous companies, you'd sort of have a map, right? Doesn't
Mm.
look exactly like a map, but just for the help in visualizing this,
Yeah.
if you're listening, imagine a map of the country, and you're going to have these little dots or pins all across the map that'll say where service connections exist. And then things sort of spiral out of there to all the individual people that are connected to that one data node. If a node goes down, it usually turns red on the map, which sends alerts to people and alerts you something's going on over here. Start performing investigations to figure out how you can get that service back up and running. But what
Mm.
would a predictive system really be doing there? Would you be able to predict when something is about to break? Like what exactly would it be doing in a meaningful way for you?
So that's a very good point. So what we shared earlier was anomaly that there's suddenly something going wrong and it sends those alerts over there.
Hmm.
Second is on the predictive side as well. There could be certain other features which you can possibly add, which will increase, say that, well, this particular area might have a higher risk of going down. So you need to monitor it much more better. Or what I say, you need to be aware of it and create some contingencies around it so that when it goes down, you don't need to worry about the kind of other things that you do urgently. You are more prepared for around it. So predictive components over there can be very helpful in terms of preparing for those contingencies and then addressing it in a much more faster manner. The other wave that we are seeing is that a combination of predictive and generative both coming together. So imagine a world where there is a predictive component which says there might be this kind of issue coming up. Do you want to analyze it further? And then we say, okay, provide me. And then with a chatbot itself in a arena, you say that, okay, can you provide me these details? Because normally it's not just one factor that comes in. You try to look at other metrics as well and see whether those metrics are coming up or whether they're good enough or not. And then that chatbot is able to acquire that information, provide it to you back, and also provide some analysis along with it, saying that, well, I looked at these four metrics. Out of these two are a bit on the edge, so it might be a bit of a risk for you, and this might be a event that might be coming up. So you need to be aware of it and push it to your seniors or your this thing for further analysis or for a decision that might be there. So the way we are seeing it is predictive is moving into prescriptive, and then prescriptive is moving into actioning as well.
I mean, it's something interesting. I actually tested this once. I had
Mm.
a friend that I worked with. They run a small business, and they said their network was down, and I ended up using an AI model to help me diagnose what was going on. And I sort of put in what I had identified as an odd bit of information was going on with the network, and it sort of spit out significant amount of valuable information that helped me diagnose exactly what was going on. And I
Yes.
suppose from a diagnostics perspective, absolutely, the potential is almost endless, limitless, and you could rely a lot more on people that are not significantly technologically savvy, like many of the other people that came from like backgrounds of, getting N plus certifications and whatnot to help them understand how to diagnose networks. But yeah, I could definitely see how you can empower the average Joe with information that usually was, something that was locked into the brains of specialists from a historical standpoint. Um, so yeah, that's definitely very interesting to see where things are going from that perspective. Do you foresee a world where all of the telecom sort of technicians are going to be carrying around devices that help them diagnose what's going on within the network or nodes or anything in that nature?
I think it will become more of an expectation going forward,
Hmm.
where you are, and this is something which is good and bad both, would say, where you will be continuously, would say, monitoring, and that will be expectation because people, the expectation from the public and from businesses and from different other arenas of society is also becoming that connectivity is super critical for us.
Yeah.
So, and we cannot, as we mentioned earlier, we cannot live without connectivity
Mhm.
these days. So our SLAs will become much more smaller, much more stricter, and we need to be and any this thing we need to become add more predictive components and these components around understanding the network in a much more easier manner through through these LLMs and so on. So that-
Oh,
You
sorry.
want me? No, sorry. I was literally scratching my ear. No,
Okay.
you keep going. You're on a roll with this lining.
No, I guess I was my mind's still going in the direction of wondering exactly where the future of AI is with telecom. Obviously, I can imagine the um, down to the level of working with people that are, tapping into the network and trying to figure out where problems are going. Um, I'm still a little bit concerned about the idea of AI having access to things like our ability, what we're saying in communication services, right? Usually these things are based or how they generate their accuracy is based on how the information that they digest. And I feel like
Mm.
letting them listening to people would be something that, like for a telecom company, it would just be like
Yeah.
they'd feel like they have to
Yeah.
let these AI systems in and listen to conversations to help make them more specialized. Do you foresee that as a concern for
I,
this?
I don't, to be honest, would say if you look at large language models that are already out there,
Mm-hmm.
you don't need to find. So I think you're referring to fine tuning.
Yeah.
Is it what you mean? I think that's the biggest misconception in the industry
Yeah.
across there. 99% of your problems could be solved through proper prompt, or proper RAG. Or by RAG, I mean proper information knowledge that you provided over there. In very, very rare cases, you need fine tuning of a large language model. On that. It's mostly if anybody is fine tuning their models over there, and there have been lots of companies that have tried it, but to be honest, they haven't uh, got the same value out of the investment they have. So you must have heard of Bloomberg GPT by any chance. Have you heard of that?
No, no, I haven't.
No. So Bloomberg, I think it was when ChatGPT 3.5 GPT 3.5 came out and ChatGPT was released. Bloomberg went ahead and said we'll train our own specialized financial model on our finance data, and we will try to, would say, be much more better for our customers. Now they released it in, I think, April or May, and in June they released GPT-4. OpenAI released GPT-4, and GPT-4 already was much more better than Bloomberg GPT. And Bloomberg had fed all its information, knowledge that it had collected from, let's say, years of analysis and everything, and still GPT-4 was performing better than that. So and they spent around, I think, $10 million or $20 million on the. Don't quote me on the numbers, but it was a high number. So that's the thing, that fine tuning, you don't need to, in today's date, you need to provide context to your large language model, and you need to provide underlying knowledge. So what I would feed in is that all the manuals that are there in order to repair my network, in order to serve my customers, that would be my knowledge base. If you can provide that, that is going to be super critical for your large language model in order to serve your customer better. You don't need to provide other things on top of it and millions of calls or anything of that sort over there in order to train it.
Interesting. So if we think of these two examples, Bloomberg GPT and 4.0 that came out right after it,
Mm.
would it not be fair to assume that what ChatGPT had done to make theirs better than the superseded Bloomberg GPT was that they had actually fed in more data and trained it in a better way that helped it
No,
surpass that?
no.
No?
See, in terms of that, we need to be careful that it's not just data that improves the output. It's the underlying algorithm and the architecture of your neural network that also makes a big difference. So what GPT-4 had done was it just didn't pump more data. It actually, what to say, changed the architecture and said that we need to change architecture in order to increase the memory, in order to increase the kind of connections between the nodes and the interactions, and that gave it the biggest boost. The second biggest boost that it gave was that reinforcement learning human feedback loop. So that was the biggest. These are three biggest components which actually led to the better outcomes of GPT-4. It's not just data. If you just keep on feeding data, it will not definitely improve your results over there. And that's been proven in multiple cases. Good quality data, good feedback loops, a good architecture that can actually consume that feedback in a proper manner, that will give you better results, not anything else. And that's where, and for organizations that are adopting this, for them, it's more important to create their knowledge architecture in a much more better manner, because intelligence is democratized. You don't need to invest in intelligence anymore. Invest in knowledge. That will, and if you combine that knowledge and intelligence properly, you will get the right output as wisdom for you.
You're clearly starting to outshine my capability to follow your level of knowledge when it comes to AI. I think this is a good segue. You've obviously got a pretty impressive background with a PhD from Oxford in data sciences. What sort of drew you to this field? And more importantly, I'm kind of curious, when you were learning, uh, was AI something that was top of the mind in these collegiate universities where obviously they're shaping the minds of the future? What was happening prior to the sort of explosion of AI that we're seeing today in the universities?
So I think so my topic when I was doing my PhD was focused on medical imaging, and medical imaging generally was that you had a scan of a patient, which was around 300 images, and at that time this was back in 2008, 2009. 300 images, large amount of memory, very different, and we were looking at mathematical processes to invert a particular equation, invert a particular this thing, a matrix. And for that one, most of the current CPUs weren't really that good. So at that time in 2008, 2009, uh, NVIDIA had came out with CUDA, if you might have heard of it.
Very
CUDA
familiar.
language? Yes,
Yep.
yes. So at that time they came to Oxford and they started giving training, and they started releasing these libraries to the academia to start building start building open source libraries which can then be shared with the rest of the organization, and they can build more infrastructure on top of it. And they were basically using CUDA plus GPU, CUDA language on GPUs in order for that. Now, to be honest, at that time, we were using some machine learning algorithms on our internal teams as well for image recognition, trying to identify cancer nodules or what's the detection of it, image transformation, things like that. And this was quite helpful for us in order to go on that journey and try and improve our algorithm speed so that we can experiment faster. And that was amazing for us during that time. When I finished my PhD and went for a postdoc, that's when we started seeing the advent of deep learning algorithms coming in.
Of
So
what, sorry?
deep learning algorithms.
Deep learning algorithms. And maybe it's a good
Yes.
point. Can you
Mm,
sort of distinguish the difference between deep learning algorithms and machine learning for the average listener?
yeah. So deep learning algorithms are mostly neural network algorithms that are commonly known. And this my definition might be very different from a lot of academics that are currently working in this space. So don't quote me on this one. But deep learning, the main difference is that in deep learning, it automatically tries to find rules that can to help you to differentiate between different classes and labels that are there. And deep learning is very powerful when it comes to images and unstructured data, images, text, voice, and so on over there. Machine learning algorithms are also doing something very similar, but they are more focused on a structured data, which is tabular data, stock prices, heartbeat, things like that, all the uniform signals that you might have. That's the major difference. Deep learning is more for unstructured data. It can be used for structured data as well, which is your stock prices, things like that, but it's more for images, then voice and text. While traditional machine learning algorithms are more for structured data in that case.
Would it be fair to say then deep learning is more interpretive while machine learning is more validated information with hard data points?
Yes, yes, definitely. And that's why if you see a lot of the deep learning algorithms were kind of the foundation for in when you're looking at NLP or image recognition algorithms, it was one of the main foundations for that. But to be honest, I'm not doing good justice to the different categories of algorithms that are in the machine learning space or in the AI space. These are just two high level interpretations of machine learning and deep learning. Over there are different categories of algorithms within each one of them as well.
Right, right.
I just want to take it over to the customer side
Mm,
for a minute, if that's okay.
yeah.
So AI-driven customer service is everywhere now, but people
Mm.
fundamentally still sort of crave that human touch. Do you think we're going too far with AI in customer service, or is this an essential step forward that we need to be part of and get behind?
I think it will be it's something which can evolve in either direction over there. In certain areas, you might see that with time, people might appreciate much more easily to talk to a bot than to a human.
Yeah.
Uh, this might happen that you're talking to a customer service agent and you might not like their tone. You might
Mm-hmm.
not like their response over there. Or you yourself are being too rude, let's say, to them, and that other person is hurt. Uh, and they might respond in a different way. So I think some people will possibly go for that route where it's much more easier for me to talk to a bot than to a human.
Yep.
There's no judgment. There's
Yep.
no this thing. There's no relationship in that way. But some people might still say that no, I would like that human touch, and I would like to talk to a human. So the way I see this system evolving is that you might get a bot by default,
Mm-hmm.
but then if you request for a human, there still be human that you can talk to, and you can jump you can ask, say, okay, I want to talk to a human, and it will be bypassed to that over there. That's what the initial, I think, phase will be. But as time progresses, I generally feel that uh, if humans evolve, we used to go to libraries for books.
Yeah.
Now we don't. We normally have books on our phones over there.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
these are things that will evolve with time, and based on the need and the kind of requests and conversations you might have, these things will also change with time.
Yeah, I have to admit, like, even for myself, very rarely am I at the point where I'm like, oh, I just need to speak to a human. I can more often than not troubleshoot. You like to speak to the human?
I,
No, what?
oh man, I hate speaking to bots.
Yes. Oh, you don't like speaking to the bots?
Well, it's because they don't use AI. Actually, they don't usually generally use AI models. What they usually do is they reference FAQ libraries for a
and then
company.
you're still left to work it out yourself.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
They don't ever
Yes,
actually
yeah.
help you figure information out. They just sort of say, go look for it in this direction, and you're like, I wouldn't be
I don't-
calling you
Yeah, I don't
if
want
I
to.
didn't need help getting
Yeah.
the information. I would have
Yeah,
done it
true.
myself.
But do you think, as AI becomes, more integrated in our day-to-day life, as you said, we used to have, encyclopedias, that I don't even think they're a thing anymore. Like, and then I think,
Whoa. Fighting words.
do you have a set of
Well, on
encyclopedias?
my phone I do.
Oh, yeah. See, you're not lugging around a suitcase full of books, though,
No,
are
no,
you?
definitely not.
But like, do you think it will become a generational thing? Because the younger generation, they are on board. They're on board with all of this, and then you've got the older generation that are like, no, I want a human.
I'll disagree very strongly on that one. And I'll give an example for it.
Yeah, please.
Uh, my parents, so to say,
Yeah.
they are a generation more than me, and once they discovered WhatsApp on their phone, they've become the most avid users of it. They
Mm.
want to do everything through WhatsApp. They send me images through WhatsApp. They want to talk through WhatsApp. They don't even now use their normal phone versus calls. Just use WhatsApp for everything. All that.
Really?
And, and it's more that how do you make, and this is where product design will come into play very most importantly. How do you design that interface so that it seems seamless for anybody to pick it up and start
Mm-hmm.
using it over there? And how do you get that number of people using on that platform so that it becomes much more easy for everybody to access it and everybody's able to know there so that so it goes hand in hand. It's a cycle, right?
Yeah.
The more easy you make the product to use, the more people will come on in. The more people who come on in, the more easily, I would say, the more they will want to use, and you'll get other people pushed in as well. But it's more around the product rather than a generational use over there. Whether it's my generation or older generation or the new one, all will have the same problems.
Mm-hmm.
It's how do we make it easy for them to enter and use their product that will be the differentiator.
But I kind of feel like things like WhatsApp, the only reason it would be, and this is opinion, obviously, so well adopted amongst older generations is because they very, very likely had a generation underneath them, kids, children, I should say, and that forced that technology upon them and said, look, if you want to talk to me, this is how you're going to do it.
True.
Right? I don't feel like most of the older generation had any interest in ever adopting things like WhatsApp or WeChat or any of these other great tools out there. I mean, I could, again, I'm speculating here, but it's been
But
my personal.
that might be true, but at the same time, if you look at the users, they are one of the highest users over there in that case, because they are not just sharing their everyday news with through that portal, but they're basically sharing, they're connecting with their friends and everything through that as well over there. So I understand that if your initial push might be through your kids and everything, but once you are there, how you're using it and adopting it would also be a differentiator. Case.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Mm,
even if we continue down this line of thinking, right,
mm,
if no one wants to answer a phone call, because every single one of us here loathes taking a phone call, but if it's from someone that says, from Jamie,
Yeah.
WhatsApp call, it's already a trusted line. I don't have to worry about using minutes. And I honestly have no idea. How the hell are we still charging people for
I don't
minutes?
know.
Why is that? How is that possibly a thing today? But yeah, like it's just people are way more inclined to do that because data is easier. They're almost always connected to a Wi-Fi that makes the call service better. Whereas in many areas, especially remote areas in Australia, you can't call anyone. All you've got is Wi-Fi. It's either internet or nothing for
I
these
feel
people.
like I'm behind the curve on this one. I don't barely use WhatsApp.
Look, I'm not going to say I told you so.
I barely use it. It's like my last thing that I'll use.
What do you prefer using?
I just text or use the normal phone on my phone. I don't know. I don't know. I'm feeling victimized.
No, so this is also something, and maybe you can data check me here, but WhatsApp is infinitely more valuable to people that are in Europe and Asia and outside of essentially the US and Australia.
Australia, yeah.
Everyone here is usually on like instant messaging
Yeah.
or whatever's provided by Apple or Google Play.
I will more often than not send someone a snap, like a Snapchat, Instagram message, or before I even think of WhatsApp, with the exception unless I need to send a bigger file.
Yeah.
And then WhatsApp is my first protocol.
Sure.
I think that's the beauty of it, right? A few years back, they were talking about a super app, which everybody uses only one app, but it has everything in there. But to
Yeah.
be honest, humans are so humans are so choice oriented, and they love different choices, that you would be using something different, you would be using different. But if you look at that, all of those platforms are very easy to use. You get easily onboarded on them.
They are.
You can easily communicate through them, and you can, what to say, easily maintain a history of them and everything over there. So that's going to the digital platform age will be different. One of the things that we generally also see is that, and I believe very strongly is that, and this is my personal experience, I'm not sure whether you guys have experienced or not, my number of emails have increased drastically since the advent of ChatGPT. And that is because either people are using that much more, and at the same time, people are expecting that, okay, no, let me just send through something. You can create content very easily and send it
Yeah.
off over there.
Yeah.
Now to battle that, at least not on my personal account, what I'm trying to do. Have you heard of Fixer by any chance? Fixer or AI?
Oh, no.
Misha? No, no. It's a very cool app which helps you to actually prioritize your email inbox completely, and it says that this particular email it's informed. This particular email you need to respond. This particular email is this thing and so on.
Hmm.
And then as you open it, it automatically tries to create a response for you and keep it populated as well. So that if you're happy with it, just click on send and then go through. Similarly, Microsoft Copilot, you must have seen over there, the summarization, the kind of draft creation, all those components are so easy that you now the friction to actually increase the cost has, the friction to release something has reduced drastically. Oh, sorry.
Got some guests in the
Don't-
background.
Honestly, when anytime kids pop in on the
That's the
background,
best.
I know everyone on the other end is like, "Oh, this is so embarrassing." But for us, it's like,
I
"Hey!"
know. I have to stop myself from going, oh, hi. But then you got your earpods in anyway, so they wouldn't have heard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just a reminder that being's human, just like you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
But I think, yeah, the main thing was around that. The future is that you have bots creating content.
Mhm.
You will have bots answering to helping you answer to the content as
Yeah.
well, or maybe in the future answering content as well over there. So there will be bots talking to bots effectively. Now it's slightly scary, but I think there will be some kind of adjustment that we will have.
Yep.
We will find that, well, our productivity has increased, our number of conversations that we're having is increased, and that will cause a different kind of strain on us over there, because human mind is not built to have those many conversations,
No.
or it's not built to have that much context change as well.
I agree. I mean, I'm always torn between the idea of if I was a dictator, I would force everyone for any type of communication to use instant messaging. And I would say there should be no reason you should ever email anyone.
Mm.
I still feel to this day, email is a dead technology that we just feel tethered to. For some reason, we just feel like we need it. But it should be instant messaging. I don't like this whole entire, like, someone sends me something and I'm like, dear sir,
I know.
I am so, that's not how I talk. That's not how you talk. None of us want to talk like this.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you just asked me for something and it was instant messaging, I'm infinitely more inclined to be like, here's the answer, done. And that person got an immediate response. They're happier. I'm happier. And we could get rid of these archaic email systems. And you're right. I do believe there is an increase in the amount of emails going through because now people are not, and this is exactly to my point, fearful of how they are perceived on the other end if they do not word it exactly correctly for the other
Yes.
person. And that's just something, again, that is not natural. We should not be communicating like that. It's something from a bygone era where people used to write letters and we're like, all right, now it's digitized. Now we're going to continue doing this.
Exactly this
No,
via the digital version.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's dead. What do you
It's
think? Would you still prefer instant messaging, or would you be tethered to emails if you had the choice?
So I think with me and my team, we have a rule that if we can use if it's something you need 5 minutes in,
Mhm.
send it on a Teams chat. Okay,
Yeah.
we use Microsoft Teams, so we send it on a Teams chat. Easier for me. I can easily respond back to you, and then also you can get back. If it's something which requires a lot of reading, a lot of thinking, and some other documentation, then we'll say send an email. We'll say, or if it requires something which is a formal note, then we'll say then do that over there. Then we'll say we need to have that and this thing. But yeah, if it's something quick and easy, don't even think of an email. Don't spend time on it.
Yeah.
Just send out an instant
Yeah,
message.
I tend to work the same way. If it's something I can just do, like, okay, yeah, boom, here's the answer, like you were saying, just send it on
Mm.
instant message. If it's something I've got to think about and
Yeah.
I've got to add, documents to and stuff like that, it needs to be an email.
Yeah.
Hey, this is something you can look into. Why do we not have AI systems that can just be on the phone call, right? Someone's like, hey, Arvin, can you do this for me? And you're like, yeah, no problems. You hang up the phone call. You've already forgotten it because you're distracted by 1,000 other things that are in
Yeah.
front of you. Wouldn't it be great if you were on the phone call and you're like, yeah, no worries. Set a task to do this. And it just blink, converts that to a task list from your phone or something. But then obviously we are back to that horribly scary
Where they're
world where they're listening to everything.
Which you were so against
I'm
to start
so against-
with.
I don't want them to be able to have access to the data,
Yeah,
but I would like for there to be services that are built into the technologies that we love so much. I just don't
Yeah.
want them to be able to see it.
yeah, yeah.
No, I agree, and I think there are certain this thing. There is. Have you heard of SK Telecom by any chance in South Korea?
What is it called?
Where
SK?
SK Telecom.
No, I'm not familiar with that one. I have
Yeah.
not been to Korea
No,
yet. Forgive me.
no. So it's basically South Korea Telecom, and they if I remember right, they had released a product within this space very similar, where they called it a dot, and it was kind of your personal GPT on your phone, and you can use it whatever where you want. You don't need a chat subscription, things like that. But one of the features they had introduced was that you have a conversation. So this is for SMEs. You have a conversation. It takes notes for it and it summarizes it and also lists down what actions have been decided or agreed upon, and then sends that to you as an email or say as a note on your phone or that. That as you mentioned, that's the kind of the first step, right? That you have a conversation and then it automatically summarizes it and lists down the action
Yep.
and then it populates it somewhere where you can. So to be honest, in terms of technology, there is no limitations currently. You cannot easily, but after a bit of effort, you can implement it across the board. I think the main thing we, as a society, we haven't still thought of is that how much information do we want AI to go through on our systems or in our life, and how much and what are the different ways in which we can control it,
Yeah.
and what kind of controls we can build around it for that. And to be honest, across the world, no, it's something that is going through a process of discovery and experimentation. We might have, and I always think of technology and society interactions is like a pendulum. You always swing sometimes too much on this side, and then you realize you're swung too much over there. Then you come in
Yeah.
the center, and then you swing on this side, and so on.
Yeah.
So I think we are still in that journey before we settle down. And there will definitely be that space where people will start feeling a bit more comfortable with AI and they say, yep, I'm happy to give it a bit more access. And then you might realize that, okay, no, this is too much access. I need to reduce it down over this.
I'm just kind of wondering there, you said people swing from one side to the other from time to times here. Where do you think, from your side of the fence, people are at right now? Do you still feel like, because, honestly, just in the last few months, I feel like the vibe of AI has gone from like, it was like, oh my God, it's going to take our jobs. And now I don't know a single person who's not using AI. Even the people that tell me like, it's taking over our lives. I'm like, you use it. And they're like, yeah, but
but
it doesn't count.
yeah.
Like, where do you see the world right now? Do you still see them? Do you feel like the media is just blowing it out of proportion, or maybe we're coming around?
I think we are still going through that phase where we are experimenting, where it can drive the biggest values for us over there. Like every day, I'm trying to understand in new ways in which you can use AI, whether it's for entertainment, whether it's for my productivity, whether it's for my personal life, or whatever, or my work life over there. We are still experimenting to a phase. And we are getting through that step where we are now realizing that these things are useful. No, we can use it for these things. These things are not useful. Just don't use it for that
Yeah.
over there. Uh, I think we are in that phase where the hype is somewhat slowing down, and we are realizing that what are the deep use cases where it's going to drive real value, and we are trying to investigate more deeper into that. Over there. That would be my conclusion in terms of the industry feeling. Now, you don't just talk about RAG solutions. You say, okay, how can RAG actually also give me some actioning over there? How can it drive some actions? So it's more focused on agentic flow work.
Yep.
Now, if there's agentic flow work, how do I change my current systems so that I can incorporate agents and they can do work end to end over there?
And you obviously touched a little bit on how you foresee AI being useful early on in the conversations. What do you think the future of AI is for your industry? What's going to be the big thing that you're hoping if we could just tap into it in this way, it would really just solve all of these problems for us on our side of the fence?
See, for our side of the fence, one of the major things is that with most organizations and all telecoms over there, uh, there are different phases of AI journey that will be there.
Hmm.
First phase will be around which areas do we actually think, which areas do we think AI will be very helpful for us?
Hmm.
Then the second is the implementation. Third is the integration of those with the various systems that you might have. So the biggest challenge I see in the telecom industry is we are a traditional industry which has been there for almost past 40, 50 years. Integrating AI into different parts of the business and then rethinking our business processes and which way AI can drive more productivity and more output. That is the most challenging part. Okay. And it's challenging not because the culture is not there. The telecom has one of the most innovative cultures in terms of adding or trying out new technologies. Okay. It's because we carry a legacy with us, and changing that legacy takes a bit of focus, takes a bit of effort over there, and that's the main challenge for us. Uh,
Absolutely. And just the cost
mm,
alone and updating millions upon millions
mm.
of devices, software, hardware, it's got to be a job that I would only leave up to the best specialists in the world. But
Yeah.
I got to say, I'm a little bit disappointed in your answer, Habib. I thought you were going to
Yeah.
say something along the lines of, it would be really great if we used AI to get rid of all these bloody spam callers in the world today. Come on. That would drive the needle for me and you, I
No,
feel
yeah,
like.
absolutely. The amount of spam is unbelievable.
I
Well,
know definitely we do try, or say, as a part of our this thing, to try and limit on all of the fraudulent and everything on our side. Anyways, so as part of the telecom community within New Zealand, we do have that thing that anything is flagged as fraudulent and so on, especially in text, we try to limit it as much as possible.
Mhm.
But I agree with you that fraudulent calls is another area where telcos can focus on going
mhm.
ahead and try to see how can we limit that for our customers so that they don't have to face that kind of problems going ahead.
And like the technology is old for spamming, isn't it? Like spoofing numbers, that
Yeah.
technology is old. I just find it very peculiar that we haven't created a technology in such a way that interrogates where the origin is from and doesn't validate it's from the exact number that is owned by your own
Hmm.
ecosystem. Somehow someone's trying to break into. I just feel like this is a perfect use case for an AI system to look at that information and quickly make it a decision and
Yeah.
block that call from ever making it into our phones.
Mm.
And what's
No,
happening. It feels
no, I
like,
agree.
yeah.
And I think there are lots of different. The other thing is that a lot of different strategies are used by these spammers as well in order to bifurcate this thing.
Hmm.
But it's a definitely an interesting problem that I think the telco industry could look into. Uh, yeah.
Well, mate, we always like to end these calls, and you've been doing it way better than me. So I'm going to hand this one over to you if that's okay.
Of course, of course.
Thank you.
Um, So finally, what is one tool or piece of tech that if you were starting your career or a business today that you could not go without, and that you would also give the advice for another entrepreneur to use that exact piece of tech, what would that be?
Don't say AI.
Don't say AI. Yeah.
To be honest, I want to say I kind of use multiple tools in a professional and personal way. Well, all of them say so mostly personal way, but uh, I use ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, all three of them. All that.
hmm
And I'll tell you why the reason for this. What I've realized is that each of them have their own personality, and each one of them I kind of work with them for different kind of problem statements. So Gemini is very thorough in its answers and sometimes very detailed, but I feel sometimes it's a bit rude over there now. And that's my personal feeling. ChatGPT is very nice, very this thing over there. Claude has very deep answers in many of these cases. It's
Oh,
able to give much more very deep answers, and it comes up with certain concepts which you never would have really thought of. But sometimes it also doesn't really give you the answer directly that you want over there. But ChatGPT is very good at giving you direct answers. But sometimes in deep thought, I don't really feel like, okay, it has done a good job enough that. But what I'm trying to say is that one of the biggest changes I've seen in my this thing last 1 year and 2 years is that I've moved away from search engines to answer engines. Okay. And what I mean by that is I'm no longer searching through websites for answers. I am actually reaching out to answers directly, would say, through ChatGPT,
yeah.
through Gemini, or this one if it's connected to internet, and also Perplexity if it's a directly related question over there. So my searches are no longer like, to be honest, uh, Google had this feature where it was actually providing a AI generated answer. But whenever it doesn't, I feel frustrated. I search on it, but then I realize, okay, it's not giving me the answer. I switch to ChatGPT or Gemini or Cloud in that case, and then I start working. So I think that's the other change I've seen in my nature, where you no longer have the patience to search for things.
hmm
You want to just get the answer over there. Uh,
Yeah, I have to admit, I also do that now as well, opposed to
mm,
Googling.
Yeah,
mm,
absolutely. I mean, I use it for a number of different, a
Yeah.
range of different reasons, but you're right. I do like looking for answers.
Yeah.
And while I like doing research to ChatGPT as well, I think one of those untapped features is asking it for answers, but asking it for sources simultaneously.
Yes.
yes.
People
Yes.
always look at
Mm,
the answers and they
Yeah.
just think, oh, that's the answer. And it's like,
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
couple different ways you can answer that question. You should probably interpret it through the
Yeah.
lens of other
Yeah.
various sources.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mm,
Well, Habib, we have unfortunately run out of time, but I want to thank you so much for taking the time and coming on the tech panel. Um, I, I've learned a lot. Like I had no idea in regards to the telecom industry and in regards to like AI becoming part of that and stuff like that. So I've learned a lot of information. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for calling me.
Okay, no worries. Thanks so much, Habib.
Why don't you take an opportunity to plug, who you are, where people can find you, and a little bit about the business.
Oh, no worries. Um, so I'm generally available on LinkedIn. So if anybody wants to reach out to me on LinkedIn, more than happy to reach out on that. Uh, I've always been kind of a persistent uh, searcher for knowledge over there. So that's why even now, what I say, I keep on reading through some academic papers every now and then, trying to understand a little bit about what's happening in the space, not just beyond the headlines and so on over there. So always keen to talk to people and saying what's happening in the space, what is your thinking around what's the next in AI, and how can we change the field overall over there for humans over here.
Easy. Thanks so much, mate. We really appreciate your time. It's been fantastic having you on the show. And until next one, we'll catch you on the next one, mate.
Thank you.
Catch you later.
Me again. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tech Panel. If you like what you heard, Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsor, SmoothLink Integrations, for powering today's episode. And join us again on the next episode of the Tech Panel, where tech minds meet.